All right. So I'm going to talk about pH for cultivation, potential hydrogen. It is a measure of how acidic or alkaline a solution is, an aqueous solution can be. So on this range of 0 through 14, we have all different types of solutions that are found in our everyday life, like household cleaners being very basic, very alkaline, our blood being about 8.0. We have water at 7, coffee and lemon juice and wine on the more acidic side, battery acid at 0. So this is the scale that we're working with. Plants like all of their water to be at a much kind of lower range on the scale, so we can see here are nutrients that plants use and uptake, and this is the pH range that they are optimally uptake by plants. So you can see the highest it's going to be on this scale is really 7.0. That's going to be on the highest end of this, but on the lowest end it's going to be closer to 5.0. So that range of 5.5 to 6.5 is really going to be optimal for a shared portion of all of these nutrients. It's not perfect for all of the nutrients, but it's enough. It's where the different levels of basic or alkaline and acidic availability of nutrients cross over. So in this range of 5.5 to 6.5, that's going to be ideal for plant life, plant growth. And so for us, we have all these different soil types that we use that are soilless medias that are used for this rapid indoor cultivation that we're used to in our space. So coco coir, I think, is definitely my favorite. It has a little bit of a buffer, and it's just a byproduct of coconut production. So coco coir pH 5.8 is best with up to 6.2 and as low as 5.6. I really like to stick to that one, but there are many others people use, like a pro mix type of peat moss and perlite potting mix, which the best range would be 6.2 to 6.4, as low as 6.0. And then Rockwool, which is kind of like that just empty media, that empty substrate. The pH range is going to be 5.5 to 5.7, as low as 5.2, and no higher than 6.0. And then also for deep water culture, Rockwool and aeroponic, that range 5.5, no lower than 5, no higher than 6. It is pretty, you have to be very precise with your pH range with these media types because there's no natural buffer built into the soil types. So whatever you water your plants with, you have to make sure it's very dialed for what you're using, because if you give the very high or very low pH to a plant in one of these substrates, there's nothing buffering and kind of helping you out. It's just going directly to the plant, so you can have a much more negative, like a great negative impact very quickly if you feed your plants a pH that is too far off. And you'll get these kind of deficiencies that we're seeing here, the pH curl and burning and stuff. So that can happen pretty quickly just depending on how you're feeding your plants and what media type they're in, what natural buffer is built into that media type. So I have a few videos of what we have at the lab to measure our pH. This is a Bluelab meter built into the irrigation system. All of the nutrients are mixed in through the dosatrons and then tested by this meter. We have electrical conductivity measuring the amount of salts in the solution. So there's none in this line. There's no active nutrient in any of the lines actually in this video. And you can see our pH is completely off. We would not want 7.4. We'd want it closer to 6.0 or a 5.8 to 6.0 for our given media type, which is cocoa. So these meters are really nice. But they are cemented into the system, so you can't really take them out. So calibrating them is a lot harder. You have to use a handheld probe before you send the water out to the rooms just to make sure you're right in the same range. But we have it pretty dialed when we are using it, so it's a very nice thing to have kind of built into your system there. This is going to be the handheld version, as well as two other handheld versions. Bluelab, this is the EC meter, and that's the pH meter that I'm picking up right there. That measures your pH, and then EC. And then this smaller handheld one is just for pH. And then I also do show you how to calibrate them. These two Vivo Sun pens are, I think, the worst and are very off and hard to use. Even if you do calibrate them, they just are not very good. I would definitely recommend getting a better probe like the Blue Labs or the Grow Pros. That's the EC meter, and it actually passes an electrical current from one dot to the other, and it measures how much salt is in the water moving between that electrical current. Awesome. So these are the pens that we're going to be using on the daily. This is how you go ahead and calibrate them. You hold down onto the pH button to calibrate it. You put the pen in a 7.0 pre-buffered solution, and it will. So it was saying that it was 7.4, which we know is wrong because it's store-bought balanced at 7.0. So you go ahead and tell the probe to recalibrate and say, no, this is actually 7. And then you put it into a 4 and you say, this is 4. And so that way the probe is going to be a lot more accurate between the numbers of pH 7 and pH 4, which is that range that we're going to be using always for plants and cultivation. So you want to make sure that your probes are calibrated properly so you're not just taking backward steps trusting an uncalibrated probe. So you just go ahead and repeat this process, and then it gets you right down into that good range. And you can do this also for the smaller pH pen, and it works the exact same process. This one was actually pretty on point, but a little too low. So we did calibrate it and went ahead and got it in the correct range where we want it to be.